Evening everybody, welcome back to Chuck's Chats. Joined this evening by another level of greatness in Bective. We're joined by the chairman of the board, Mr. Steve McGettigan. Steve, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Chuck.
Glad to see you're still wearing all the lifestyle sports gear from the voucher you won on the Your Club, Your Country draw last year.
I still have 160 left.
Yeah, Roisin must be delighted. Steve, your background. I want to go through the chairman piece kind of towards the end and what exactly you do, so that people get an idea around that. But let's go all the way back and we'll kind of do it in chronological order. So your background, you joined Bective when, why, what brought you in here?
I was in school in Presentation Bray.
We won't hold that against you.
With the likes of Cormac O'Carroll and JJ O'Reilly and fellas that you wouldn't know, Brendan Byrne, so on. We played rugby for Pres. And the normal route, once you played rugby for Pres, was to go out to Greystones.
Greystones, yeah.
Where my two brothers played. And
they were a junior club in those days.
They were a junior club, yeah. So I went out and played, I think I played 2 or 3 seasons out in Greystones. And I used to play a match on the first on a Saturday, and I used to play with my brothers on the third Bs on a Sunday, and it was great crack. I really enjoyed Greystones, and I wouldn't have a word said against it. I think they're a great club.
I lived there for 19 years, love Greystones.
Yeah, they're a smashing club. And then what happened was Cormac O'Carroll joined Bective, and Cormac was one of the best players in Greystones at the time, and he joined Bective, and he was a good pal of mine, and I was moving into town. I'd started to work in the bank, was moving into town, and Cormac said, why don't you come down to Bective? It's a great club. I'm here, and there's a load of people that you'd really like here, and they're a good rugby club and they look after fellas. So I said, right, I'm your man.
What was the timing on that? What year was that, Steve?
I think that was 1974 or 5.
Okay.
Louis McGee was captain, and I can't remember an awful lot of the players. But Cormac played. Cormac was on the first team. PJ Smith was playing for them. We had a good team, but a bit like the story of Bective, we didn't win much, but we had a team that was capable of winning cup. But it was all about the cup in those days.
Correct. Yeah.
There was no league.
We
had fantastic. We had a fantastic fixture list. We played against Northampton. We played against Cardiff. We played against, I think it was Gala in
up in the borders.
Borders.
And Ebbavale as well would have been.
And Ebbavale, I think. I can't remember ever playing with them, but we had a great Irish list of clubs we played against. We played against in Cork. We played Sunday as well, and then in Limerick we played Gary Owen, and we played everybody.
We were a Grand Dame back in those days.
It was great, and there was no league to be worried about, so you got everything was getting ready for the cup, and if you won the cup, you won. That was a big deal, and if you didn't win the cup, that was the end of your rugby for that year. So we went on several trips in those days. I went on a trip to before I left Greystones. The year before, we went on a trip to Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana in the States, and that was a fantastic trip.
Not really rugby hotbeds, though.
No, but all the universities played in those days over there. So we played 3 universities over there, but as in most rugby clubs back then, rugby trips back then, the crack was the main thing, and we played the matches, but we had great fun as well.
So were you around for the Trinidad and Tobago?
I went on. I think it's safe to say if there was a trip going, I was.
You were there, yes.
I was in Hawaii with Bective and Trinidad and Argentina. So really, I got really lucky with all the trips that we had. It doesn't seem to be a thing now. I'd love to try and get it back on the agenda again, but there's an awful lot of organisation involved in it.
Yeah, we had Tim O'Flanagan in a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the halcyon days of going on amateur rugby tours, and is it something, and it may not be now because times have changed, but it seems a great pity that they have stopped.
I'd love
to go, and I was saying to Tim, we should go to South Africa.
Yeah, it'd be great fun.
Stay down in Cape Town, up to Stellenbosch, Pearl, play 2 matches, play 2 matches, drink the country dry and come home, and you've memories for life, and maybe that's something we should be looking at down the track.
You see, the pressure with you're basically, at the moment, from September on, you're playing important matches. And it's hard to even get a 2-week period where you're not playing important games or getting ready for important games. If you're in the league, I mean, as you know, we only lost 1 league match this year, which is the very first league match.
21st of September.
And we're in a struggle to win the league. So it's so competitive. I don't know where you'd fit in a tour unless it was during the summer. And then fellas want to go off and do their own thing then. So I think the touring days might be gone
They may be, but you look, we'll send it to the Rugby Council and we'll send it to the executive, of which you're a big wing. Yes. And so in terms of the team, Stevie, were you straight onto the first year?
I played on the first. I played on the first.
What position you played?
I played on the wing.
Okay.
So when I was playing on the wing, Jackie O'Driscoll was on the other wing, who was a Greystones man, and Eddie O'Byrne was playing wing forward, and he was a Greystones. They both went back to Greystones. Greystones, the year after I joined, or maybe a year or two after, became a senior club, and so they wanted anybody who was with them to come back, but it didn't suit me to go back because I was working in town, I was living in Rathmines, and you know,
in those days, Greystones was actually a bit of a trek. It was a bit of a trek.
I hadn't even got a car or any way of getting out there, so I stayed put, and Cormac stayed put as well. And then Cormac subsequently became captain of the club, and then he went a different route as well. He went down to Baltimore and, you know, gave up really club rugby until he went to the States. But getting back to the what we were talking about.
So you're on the ones, you're playing on the wing. Did you win anything, Steve?
No. We won. The only thing I can remember winning at that stage was the 7-a-side tournament in Belvedere,
which was always a great tournament. Easter weekend every year back in the day. Yeah.
It was great. We had a really good team. Sean Fitzpatrick was on it.
Shawnee Fitz, Greystones Shawnee Fitz.
That's the very one. And Jonathan Rayfield was on it.
Yeah. Tim O'Flanagan was talking about him a couple of weeks ago.
So I can't remember any of the other players, but we did well to win the tournament anyway. But as regards the only team that I could win a medal with would be the first at the time, because we played on the first for a couple of seasons. But we had good teams, but never won anything. And then once I wasn't playing on the first, I played on the seconds, and when they wouldn't pick me on the seconds, I played on the thirds, and I played until I was 38 or 39. I played until I got married.
Okay.
Yeah. 39. So I played in every team, but I did win a medal eventually with Joe Nolan's third Bs.
Was this a Joe special team?
It was a little bit of that.
Yes, yeah.
But it was a great team, and we had great fun, and we managed to win it. And like, you see all the pictures of teams.
Is your picture up here somewhere?
It's up here somewhere.
I have one up there,
And it's very hard to get your picture up anywhere. You need to win something. So that was my only claim to fame, is that we won that. And we had a great team and great fun. And of course, being with Joe Nolan was fantastic.
And Joe, Greystones guy, who came up to Bective as well.
That's right. Joe started in Greystones as well. And then I coached the under-19s.
You did with me.
With you and with
1988 Dermot. When I came in here first, you were. It was Harry Harbison, yourself, Dermot Jordan, and I was in as a young buck.
Yeah, and we had a good team.
Yeah, we had
all the Clongowes,
really good Clongowes, and a couple of Newbridge boys as well. We had Eric and Shane Prendergast and Eric.
Steve Montgomery.
Yeah, Monty came afterwards. He went to UMist over in Manchester.
And the big second row fellow, Chuck, what was
Spicer, Johnny Spicer, whose kid is now on the Irish under-20s.
Oh, right.
Sorry, Paddy Spicer and Johnny Spicer. Paddy's kid is on the under-20s now. Amazing how it kind of goes full circle. You're now looking at your friends' kids playing.
I know.
So you went into a bit of
I liked a bit of coaching, and I used to take the physical training as well for the senior team. Because everybody back in those days was amateur, you know, there was no professional coaching or anything like that. But I used to like the physical end of things, getting the fellas fit, and I did that for a couple of years, good few years as well. But back then, if you remember, Clongowes was a great feeder for Bective.
Yeah, we got a lot of good guys. Kevin O'Farrell started all that, and then we got all the powers. Manuel Alonso came, Mike came. There was a lot of Clongowes boys came. Monty, who was just teak tough, captain to the club.
Yeah, and a great guy, great leader.
Yeah, great leader. Yeah, he was a real, what I'd call a Roy Keane type leader, which is just follow me. Yeah, I'll mind you, follow me.
And that team we had Morris Mortel and another guy from Greystones, I can't think of it. Eddie Doherty.
Yeah. Morris on one wing, Eddie on the other wing.
I think we might have got to the final that year, did we?
That was a year before me. That was a year before I was involved
beaten
in the
by
19s.
I think UCD. So we didn't win a Macquarie Cup, but we should have won a Macquarie Cup because we had really good teams.
And the Macquarie Cup was huge back then. Huge. Absolutely huge, and it's great to see the work that Sweno and Emmett and we were putting in now, because that was a gap in our structure in the club, which is where I'm about to go now. It's linking in nicely.
There's no doubt.
Because we didn't have what is now at 20s, it was 19s then. We had let that lapse, and we need it because it just keeps that production line going from minis to youths to under 20s and ultimately onto the firsts or seconds. I want to talk about the real reason we've got you in.
Yes.
So we've talked about your playing days. Let's get into the chairman of the board bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like me, nobody has an idea what that entails.
No.
Number one, how'd you get the job? And number two, what do you actually do? And I don't mean that in a
Okay, I know you don't. I know you don't. Well, how I decided. Well, I suppose the history is that I took a break from the club when my son died in 1997, and I just stayed away from the club, nothing on purpose. And then I fell in love with it again in the kind of COVID and after COVID time. I started coming back to matches, and Jack approached me and said that he was chairman.
Jack McAvoy.
And he said, would you consider it? And he said, like, there's very little to it. One meeting a month.
You were sold a pup.
Yeah, the lies he told me were unbelievable. But I'm a firm believer that, really I do believe that you have to do your bit.
Yeah, and give back, because you get so much out of it back.
I love this club, and the fact that the chairman role worked really well. Jack really took it on. It wasn't a role before Jack took it on, but he kind of invented it and made it into something, and got the strategic plan off the ground, and got a really strong committee together. And he had done 3 years, and he wanted a break. And as far as I was concerned, if somebody has to do it, it might as well be me. So I felt at that stage that I could offer something to the club, and I could leave it in a better place than I found it. And at that stage, then we had all the issue of the renovations of the club. So there was a massive amount going on between.
We started as a project for the roof, and then morphed into actually let's do the whole bloody thing while we're at it.
Yeah, and it's so wonderful to come in here now and talk to you in a room like this, which has been completely renovated. Everything is done. We put every penny that we got.
It's like Dermot Bannon has come in and transformed our house. And we're proud to have all the neighbours in. Yeah, but it's important. You have to have this, because we're a social club as much as a rugby club.
Absolutely. And like we would have. We have 240 people coming in here for lunch next Saturday before we play Sea Point, and it's going to be really great.
We're going to fit 240 people.
We're going to have them all over the place. We're going to have them in the hall. We're going to have them in here. We're going to have them in the moon room. We're going to have them in there. We're going to feed them all, and we're going to give them plenty of pints, and the service will be great.
That's a world record. For people who are watching, our capacity is about 180, 190 at a push. So to have, and obviously at the time we're recording this in the week leading up to the big game against Sea Point, which is going to be pivotal for the league. Won't be published until after that. Let's hope it turns out well. But
240 at the moment, it's looking like.
So that's a world record. So we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Let's get back to your chairman role. And I don't mean to be in any way disparaging when I'm going to ask the awkward questions. I'm from the country. I have an abhorrence of committees, as they're called, right? And titles as well, and I'm not being nasty. Titles are like, they're thrown around like fucking confetti at a wedding. Yeah. So the chairman of the board, what do you actually do? If the whole pyramid comes up to you, and are you just steering people along, or are you just signing the checks, or what does that job, what does that role entail? Because I'm sure people actually don't know. I don't know.
In theory, the role is that I chair the monthly executive meeting. We have an executive with if everybody's available, about 15 people on it, including reps to the Leinster branch, and including on secretary and admin. We bring them in as well. But we have a very effective team on the exec.
Yeah, it's not a talking shop.
No,
I'm well aware of that.
We try and keep it to 2 hours once a month, but coming out of that then is all the other subgroups that need to work. And for the last couple of years, a lot of what I've been doing has been involved with the clubhouse. And we had fantastic people working on getting the clubhouse right. Paddy O'Brien has done Trojan work.
Tremendous work.
Jim Oliver, the same. Michael O'Carroll
Mick O'Carroll, Mole Architects.
Mole Architects.
Yeah.
They've all given their services for free. And Jim, of course, has been great. So that has been a huge... We got lucky. When we sold part of Glenamuck, we got, basically, at the end of the day, the goods of all of that money went into this building. And we also had...
We got National Lottery help as well.
We had to get a sports grant as well.
Yeah.
And the sports grant basically paid for the roof. And it's like when you do something at home, every time we did...
You take back a wall, you find something else wrong.
I mean, we found in particular the bar was in an awful state. So we had to change the floors and do an awful lot of work in there. And it's in a great nick now. It should do for the next 10 or 15 years. But a bit like home as well, you never stop putting money into it. There's always something to be done.
It's constant reinventing, yes.
But everybody, all the members really like the way it's turned out. And the big window in there, which Paddy just decided himself.
Game changer.
That's it. That was the best move of all time. Yeah. And Paddy O'Brien was down here virtually every day for a year, making sure that this place worked. And the club owes him a huge debt of gratitude.
We had Paddy in here earlier, us guys, to do an interview with Paddy. To recognise, and I thought it was great that he got recognised last year for Clubman of the Year. Because he poured his heart and soul into it.
He's a great guy.
Here every day for a year.
He's a great guy.
Every day for a year. And it's great that we have people that will give back to the club.
Yeah.
You know, FOC, there's no charge for it. And we now have something that we should rightly be hugely proud of. And it's part of the foundations that are in place for us ultimately to realise our rugby ambition, which is to become a senior club again and hopefully get back up into the IAL.
Yeah.
So as a chairman, are you involved in this as well? This is our strategic plan.
Jack McAvoy started the process of developing a 5-year plan, and he got Barry Fitzpatrick to get involved, and he organised the big meeting that we had out here. I was at that, and people divided up into various groups to do work. And that document really is a living document now that we try and live by. You know,
are we ticking all the boxes as we go along?
We're trying to. Well, on Saturday we might tick one, if that sends us on the way to the playoffs for the league. On the other hand, if we don't win on Saturday, we just have to dust ourselves off. You know, there's no point in crying. If we're good enough, we're going to win it. If we're not good enough, we won't win it. But I think that the biggest thing that we've done so far from this is the clubhouse. We said we'd renovate the clubhouse. The next biggest thing we did is we have an under-20s team now. And I'd like to pay a tribute to Emmett, Sheridan and Weewa Power and Tim O'Flanagan and Mick Sweeney.
Peter Mac.
And Peter McNamara. The amount of work that those guys have put into it has been fantastic.
And again, it's unseen. Nobody sees it.
And there's 35 under-20s registered to Bective. And as far as I know now, Weewa told me there's about 28 of them are underage next year.
Correct, and most of them were walk-ins. So the word of mouth went around. Bective were getting at 20s. He started with 10 guys and now he's over 30.
And we got David McAllister in as their coach, and that was great because he has great contacts in Tud.
Yeah, he's also very charismatic. Dave, mad as a bag of frogs, but very charismatic. Got good pedigree, played 10 for Leinster. Should have gone to Munster, but he played 10 for Leinster, so
good guy.
The kids look up to him. Dave and Macker is helping coaching the forwards there as well, so that whole piece is coming on. So you've ticked the box on the clubhouse, you've ticked the box on we're now got at 20s, and as you said, most of them are underage next year. What else is outstanding?
The next thing is to become part of the AIL. And as I said earlier on, we've only lost one match this year, but we're in a dogfight with Sea Point on Saturday.
It's like quicksand, the Leinster League. It's so hard to get out of it.
Tough league.
It is a tough league.
We have a couple of guys are missing, but as my old friend John Noel used to say, you're as good as your subs. And we have good subs. I think it'll be a great match. I think that there's very little between the two teams, but I expect us to win. I think there's such a will to win, and I mean, I was thinking today about the team we are out next Saturday. Like if you look at the back row we have of Matty Keane, James Gallagher, and Jamie Lawless, it's as good as any back row I've ever played with in Bective.
I would agree.
Going back over all the years, they're good players and they're
smart recruitment went on during the summer. The Tullamore 3, as I refer to, so The two Kelly brothers,
they've been a great addition.
Yeah, they scored 7 tries each this season, right? And they're great club men as well. They've also played, the two Kelly brothers, the Buffalo and the Biffle, have played every single game this season for the first, both league and cup. And you look at Craig Cantwell as well as the third, and he kind of goes under the radar as the Tullamore 3. He's a beast of a man for playing in the back, and he scored, I think it's 3 tries, and he's missed 1 game this season. There's been smart recruitment. James Gallagher as well, who I just love.
He's great.
James, I'd say James looks in the mirror when he's shaving and says, "What are you looking at?" Do you know that sort of guy? He just brings a huge amount of aggression, which was probably something, to be honest, was missing in previous teams. Bit of dog, bit of bollock, bit of
bite. A big vote of confidence has to go to Ben Mannion, and also to
Ben Mannion, Peter O'Donnell.
And
Rory O'Loughlin.
Rory, three great coaches, and we were lucky to be introduced to Ollie Foot by Kurt McQuilkin, and Ollie has come over to Ireland, and he's going to play this season with us. He may play another season with us. We haven't discussed it with him yet, but he might play another season. But he's added an awful lot as well.
I spoke to him after we won the All Ireland Cup. Now we were both 3 sheets to the wind, but he wants to stay. Right, so
we'd love him to stay. And I think those halfbacks with Conor Halpenny and Ollie Foot are as good as anything in Ireland.
Look, I certainly think I'm not 100% convinced we'll do an Estonians, but if and when we ever get out of Leinster and go into the IIL, I do think we're more than capable of moving up a division within a year or two. We definitely have a solid squad, and a better squad now than when Estonians beat us 2 years ago in that playoff by 5 points. We have a better squad, and it's now a squad game. We have substitutes, so it's a 20-man squad, and the 5 subs that are coming on are actually making a difference now. And that's the difference between. So we're getting better all the time. Hopefully it'll be this year. If it's not this year, it'll be the year after, the year after. Nothing's taken for granted. This interview is going to go out after that Seaboyne game, so I hope we'll be looking back and going, thank you, but it's a pivotal weekend coming up for
absolutely
because the rugby ambition thing is important,
and I think for any club, if you try to stand still, you're going to go backwards.
Correct.
So you have to keep
reinventing yourself.
And we're very lucky to have Declan Lawler working. He's the club director, and the amount of work he does for Bective is unbelievable.
Behind the scenes,
he could spend days on the phone and emailing and getting things done for the club, and of course he runs the corporate lunch that we have, which is a huge part of the finance of the club. And he just gets on with it. He doesn't ask for anybody's praise for doing it. He just gets it done. If the job needs doing, he gets it done. And we have Jim Dwyer now working with Conor Murphy. They've taken over for Emmet, and they'll be here on Saturday making sure everything is done for the match. So we're really lucky with the guys we have working on the executive. They really have Bective at heart, and it'll be a fierce disappointment if we don't pull it off on Saturday. But
look, I get knocked down, I get up again. You ain't never going to keep me down. We've been here before. If we can pull it off, great. But that's only a further step along the route, because then you got to go for playoffs and you got to get out of there too. And we've been there before. Heartbreak against Estonians in 22 when they beat us by 5 points. Bounce of a ball. Clogher Valley, to be fair, hockeyed us out in Coolmine. So there's still a bit to go there, but it's good that the rugby ambition piece is
well. And the fact that we beat Dromore and we beat Enniskillen in the recent
what
past.
A comeback. What a day. I'm 37 years in this club. That was some night in here. All Irelands don't come around very often. And to be able to say, we did that, and not only did we do it, but we came from behind, because we used to have a tendency over the years going out, scoring a lot of points in the first half, and then choking in the second half. And we actually came from a deficit, a 17-point deficit, after 30 minutes, and we won by 6. That's royal rugby stuff.
It was really
and that should give the team a lot of confidence going into this weekend.
And after that match, I was looking at the scoreboard, and Ben Keeley came over to me and nearly crushed me with a hug. He was so happy, and I was so happy for him, because the amount of work that he does in the background with his team of rats Manuel,
Eamon O'Loughlin. There's a whole match day
huge
team here that nobody
sees anything that gets done. But and if you look at the recruitment that we've done this year, he's been pivotal to a lot of that as well, you know. And he's already thinking about what we need to be doing for next year. So one of the things that we decided to do from an executive point of view is set up a rugby council, so that wouldn't be one person tasked with doing everything. So myself,
who's on that? You and Ben.
Ben
Mannion.
Ben Mannion's on it.
As coach, yeah.
And Declan Lawler and Fergus Flanagan. And we meet on a very regular basis and we look at the budgets. We make sure that we're staying within the budgets that we have. We look at all the issues. There's always about 15 or 20 issues that have to be sorted out. We try and do our best to sort all that out. And we don't leave it just to poor old Ben Keeley to do all the bits and pieces required. But for people like him and for people like Declan and for people like you, I would so much love to win on Saturday against Sea Point and just crack it this year, because I think we'll take on the northern teams, which we'll have to beat to qualify. I think we can take them this year.
Yeah, but look, the 4-point victory against Dromore in the semi-final and the 6-point victory against Enniskillen in the final, that lays that to rest, because we got beaten well by 2 northern teams prior. So that gets that monkey off the back, psychologically, going, we can take anyone. Need to get out of Leinster first, and nothing is guaranteed. You know, it's really pivotal this weekend. Okay, so from the corporate point of stuff, want to stop that, put that back in its box. Let's go back to a bit of crack. What changes have you seen, Stevie, over the years within Bective? You're here since mid-70s, early 70s?
Mid-70s, I'd say.
Yeah, so pure amateur game, even back in our time, then it went professional. Now we're back. I think there's a shift, without being hugely dogmatic about it. I think there's actually a shift away from Leinster and Munster and Ulster and Connacht, and that seemed like the Champions League. It seemed like Arsenal and Man U and Juve, and people are I think are gravitating, a bit like you and I did. I went away for 19 years, got married, had kids. Now I'm back. You did the same thing, and people are gravitating back to grassroots rugby again.
And if you look at the standard of the matches, certainly some of the matches that we've played this year, the quality of the rugby has been fantastic. Because I brought people from other clubs, and people haven't been at matches recently. Over the last few years, they would have stopped coming to matches, and I brought them to matches, and they can't get over the standard in the Leinster League.
That's what got me back. Weewa was all over me during COVID, going, come back. And when I came back, I couldn't believe the quality.
The quality is there.
So what changes have you seen over your 40 odd years here?
The main change that I've seen is that there's less people playing amateur rugby. When I was in Bective first, we went down to third D's. So we had 9 or so teams in the club. Now, one of the things I tried to do when I came back into it was try and get as far as an under 20s and maybe a 4 team, and we've done that this year.
We've done that. We've 4
and I'm really thrilled about that, because there's more members in the club. They're paying their subs, so they may be volunteers in the future.
So we have to pay tribute, sorry to cut across here, to Corrie, Shane Comer and Dean, who are looking after 3rds and 4ths. That's a really important job that they're doing as well.
Absolutely, and Cian Flanagan does a huge amount of work with them as well, and that's what you need. All those volunteers working away in the background is what makes it happen. And Joe Osborne getting
get the vets.
The vets get out.
So we've gone from kind of 8 teams, and I remember those days, and I can remember the Macquarie Cup teams at under 19s. You'd have 2 Macquarie Cup teams at Bective. So that's changed. What else have you seen change over the years, for better or for worse?
I would say the amount of good guys who play rugby in school and never play rugby again is a huge change. Back when I left school, everybody that played rugby in school played rugby for a club, for a while anyway. Now I find it difficult to understand that when people leave club, especially schools that put a huge emphasis on rugby, if they're good enough to play for Leinster / Ireland, they'll go off and do that, and they'll join the academy and so on. But a lot of them don't join a rugby club.
So do you think that's burnout, because it's so intense in Clonrose, Michael's Rock, Newbridge?
I think they're sick of it. You know, they're training 3 or 4 times a week. They're on diets, and they leave, and they're glad to get out, and they spend it. They might come back to it again, but the number of players who are playing junior rugby has definitely gone really
social
low.
rugby.
We're trying to build it up again.
Yeah.
But there are clubs in our league that can't field a second team. So
we've had 2 seconds games this year whistled early because they were down to 10. We played Tullow, and Tullow were down to 11 players on the seconds, which the ref blew it up.
And our seconds are a fine side.
And 3 times in a row they've won that league.
And they're well coached, and
4 I'm being corrected by a director behind the camera.
So I think it's great that we have a good second side, but you can see from the amount of fixtures that get cancelled that there's an awful lot of clubs that don't have a seconds or a thirds. And an awful lot who wouldn't have a fourth team. Our fourths are charging around looking for fixtures.
Correct, yeah.
You know, which is an indication of the amount of people playing amateur rugby.
So that's a change probably for the worse. Okay, talk to me about characters. There's a wide framework to talk about in Bective. Bective full of characters. You won yourself. Who are the characters that stand out for you in Bective?
Well, I mean, the fellas that I've known, I suppose, over all the years, people like Muscles Conway, who was in the club before I was in the club.
And a fine scrum half back in the day.
And he's such a Bective man, and he's such a narky little fecker.
Oh, well, that's prerequisite for being a Johnny Dimple.
You couldn't get anything past him.
But
he loves Bective with a passion, and he puts his heart and soul into it. I mean, he's the guy that was up in Glenamuck mowing the grass to keep it right. You know, he was one of the fellas who put his hand in his pocket and gave money to buy Glenamuck. You know, he just is Bective through his core, as is people like Johnny O'Hagan, great servant,
ranger,
and he'd do anything for the club. And you know,
another narky bollocks.
Yes, I mean, I think it's just type of people I like. So without those kind of characters, you wouldn't have a club, you know.
Yeah.
So I know that you were going to ask me at one stage, and I was thinking about this, Chuck. You were going to say who is the kind of the epitome of a Bective man?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking now it could be Paddy O'Brien, because he's that good. It could have been Muscles, it could have been, but the one person that comes out to me as being the epitome of what I would say is a Bective man is Dermot Jordan.
We've heard that name before.
Dermot,
why so, Steve?
Because when I joined, Dermot was playing number 8 on the first, or he might be on the seconds next week. He was first and seconds. He was a really, really good rugby player, Dermot. But he's just a wonderful human being. He's a really decent, smart, intelligent, kind person. And it really brought it home to me when we won the cup last week. Dermot bought a ticket out in Ashbourne for a draw. And he won it.
Correct.
And he got 400. When he was at home before he came back here, he was coming back here anyway. He found out that he won it, and he came down and he won a prize of 400, and he put it in behind the bar for the players.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of man he is. He doesn't take a drink, but he put up with all the rest of us having a few jars, and he comes to every match, and he has an interest in it and a passion for it.
He said to me here that night, and I do want to qualify what you said, Dermot doesn't take a drink, right? The rest of the club had drunk their own quota and Dermot's quota. And he said it was probably his best night in this clubhouse in his career, that we had won an All-Ireland, right, and we were celebrating in a brand new clubhouse with a reinvigorated club, not just a team, a reinvigorated club.
Yeah,
it's okay, good, that's good. Bective for the future, we're winding up here.
Yeah.
You're obviously crucially involved as chairman. You won't be chairman forever. I assume it's a 3-year gig and then you move on for somebody else. What do you want to see for Bective in the future? We've done a lot of the foundation building. What do you hope for this club for the future?
The main hope is the one that we discussed earlier on, is that we become a senior club again, and we're in part of the AIL. Now that brings its own problems.
Correct.
Our two home matches.
Expense.
The two home matches that we'd have if we were in the AIL would be Enniscorthy and Tullamore. So, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot Monkstown.
So
Monkstown would be the best.
They're like our best friends. So yes, we will fill it for Monkstown.
So all the travelling,
we're
getting
going on a tour of Cork and Northern Ireland whenever.
It's going to be difficult.
Win.
Please God, it'll be a problem that we'll have to deal with. But there is a downside, and the downside is the travel
and cost,
and the cost to the club. And we have to keep an eye on budgets, and we have to make sure that we're sustainable. One of the things that one of the 5 keys that we put in to our strategic plan was sustainability. Because there's no point in us going up this year and finding then that we don't have enough funds to run the club next year.
Correct.
So what we're doing, and Declan Lawler is pivotal in all of this, is that we're making sure that whatever we agree to do is sustainable for the long term. And Jimmy White now coming in
as next year's president, yeah.
He's done a fantastic job. He's got this across the line.
Correct.
He's taken over from the work that Jack and various other people have done, and he's pulled it all together. And he'll be a tremendous president when he comes in.
Did you feel pressure, and I'm going off on a tangent slightly, so you have a banking background, Jack Lawler has a banking background, so everybody's kind of backing off going, okay, you're doing the finances. Is there pressure involved in that? Let's not fuck this up.
Yeah, well, we do take the finances of the club very seriously. We spend money when money has to be spent. When physios need to be, I mean, the small things you wouldn't even think of, like the amount of money you have to spend on just strapping for players. The modern players is strapped from head to toe nearly, you know.
I've helped Rats check in a delivery, right, and I was stunned at the amount of stuff that was coming in. Yeah,
and we have our own physio, and she's fantastic, and she
Sarah
needs
Jane,
she needs to get paid for her services, number one, but also she needs to have access to all the medicine that she needs to keep our lads. One of the things this year is most of our players have been able to stay on the pitch, and that's because in the background.
That is no coincidence.
Yeah.
That is the background work that Sarah Jane, she's helped now by her intern Charlotte, Luke, Sean O'Reilly, the S&C lad, Cian. So there's 5 of them there, and that's a huge difference. Last year, I don't know if you remember, once we came back after Christmas, this place was like a small hospital. The whole team was gone. Matty broken his leg, Ger Ward did a shoulder in, we were falling like flies. And I sometimes wonder, do people realise the job that Sarah Jane and her backroom team are doing? Because we have been, touch wood, relatively.
I'd say most people don't know because they see the team on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But if you come down here tomorrow night now, or any Tuesday, or even tonight, I'd say she's working on players, getting them right for the weekend.
Correct.
So it's fantastic to have her, and it's fantastic to have Sean and the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And like back in the day when I was playing and when you were playing, there was nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
But there was no income in the club either. You know, we had the bar, and we had
Jerry Quinn.
We had Jerry Quinn, and we had the subs.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to diversify our income. We're trying to increase our sponsorship. We're trying to sell the clubhouse as a venue.
Sweat the asset, as I keep saying. We have an asset here, we need to sweat it.
And I think that if we can pull off a lunch, look after everybody for 240 people next Saturday, it'll be fantastic. And what a great venue to get married in. I got married here. And it's one of the best places you could ever get married because it's ideal.
He got married in here as well. He said it was great. He had a pig on a spit out in the back there. Yeah,
it's absolutely
great.
great.
There's another thing we need to I'm not sure all the members realise we now have a barbecue area at the back here.
Yeah.
Yes, that the men's shed have done work on a Thursday morning, and that's something possibly we can use during the summer when we transfer the lease over to the tennis.
Absolutely.
We're running out of time.
Okay.
2 more questions.
Okay.
For you, what's Bective's USP? What's our unique selling point? What makes Bective different from any of the others?
I think it's the welcome you get in Bective. I think Bective is the country club in Dublin.
Correct.
And it used to be that when fellas came up, they went to Lansdowne. Country fellas went to Lansdowne. And then it became Bective. And people like Johnny Power came up from Limerick. And,
I'm a country. I'm from Waterford. Rory's from Limerick.
And John Daly came up from Cork. These kind of fellas come because we welcome. I've, as I said, been here an awful lot. I've never seen somebody not welcomed when they came in to the club and made welcome. And there's no cliques, at least none that I can discern.
No, there isn't, and you can see as well. I was talking recently about the President's Dinner.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Our annual dinner is the one where all the presidents of the Leinster clubs all come to the Bective one. They might send a sub to another one, but they all want to come here because it's welcoming, it's open, it's a bit of crack.
Yeah.
And we need to hold on to that.
And I think we should be able to hold on to that because everybody, Well, most people who are in the club as long as we are understand that it's a really important part of the ethos of the club to be welcoming and be a home for anybody, whether you're playing on the first or playing on the fourth. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
Or not playing at all. Just
Let's
come into the
go
club.
with the key question, and it may not be one person, and there's no right answer to this, but I throw it at everyone. You're here 40 odd years.
Yeah.
Who's the best player that you either played with or saw in your time in Bective?
Yeah.
Or best, you can name one or two. Who are the people who stood
I saw
out for you?
that you asked that question, and I struggled with the answer. I mean, we've had great players. We'd have great forwards like Cormac O'Carroll and Johnny Power and PJ Smith when were on the team that I was on back in the day. And then we had Kurt McQuilkin and Ian Dwyer playing in the centre. But I think, as I said to you earlier on, you'd be hard pressed to get better halfbacks than Conor Halpenny and Ollie Foote that are playing on the first next Saturday, or a better back row than James Gallagher and Matty Keane.
Isn't that great that you come out with that? Because everybody else, look, nostalgia isn't what it used to be, but everybody thinks back and go, oh yeah, my day. I think that's brilliant that as an oldie, and we're oldies, right, there's no getting away from that, Steve, that you pick the present generation and you go, James Gallagher's a savage, right?
Yeah,
Conor Halpenny, 5 seconds hang time on his box kicks. Ollie Foote, I don't think has kicked a ball yet this season. Right, he's dynamite running around. I think that's brilliant that you come up with the present day rather than falling back on, in my day back in the 60s there was this lad. I think
it helps when I can't remember the 60s.
It does when you can't remember. You can't remember. You can't remember anything. Short-term memory is gone, Steve. Steve, that was excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
As chairman of the club, you're doing a great job. So we think, right? Long may it continue. Thanks very much, Steve.
You're welcome, Chuck. Thank you.
That's a wrap.